Welcome to another episode of This Is Why I Don't Vote, a podcast, your safe space to discuss sports, politics, social issues, and even religion, where we will take it all very seriously, but not too seriously. I'm a single man. I got on a dating app, and then I got on another dating app, and it's truly the nightmare that people make it out to be. I am now undertaking an examination of the phenomenon of the dating app and am likely going to do segments about it as I become more aware of the particulars of the dating apps. This week, a lament that I've heard from many women: there just aren't any good men out there. There really isn't any quality in the male dating pool. Dig a little deeper, dear listener, and you get it. They're just a bunch of fuckboys. I endeavor to undertake the genesis of the fuckboy. Also, you are a bunch of dullards, and because of the way that you use the English language via text, you're ruining the texting algorithm on the iPhone. And finally, drugs and sports. Are performance-enhancing drugs the devil that they're made out to be in these professional and collegiate sports? Thank you for all of my loyal supporters and listeners. I do appreciate it. Like, thumbs up, subscribe, write a review. Let the thunder of your roar in support of this podcast shake the internet. Off we go.
Act 1. The Genesis of the Fuckboy.
Many of the listeners of this program are married. I know most of you, and I know that you're in relationships, and so you may, through friends, family members, co-workers even, be aware of the total shit show that is dating through dating apps in the year of our Lord, 2022. Dating through dating apps has likely always been somewhat of a tragedy. As Patton Oswalt would say, a nightmare with occasional boners. So this isn't some things are so different now than they were back then, though things have changed. I have been on a dating app now for close to a month. I've gone on a number of first dates. There have been successes. There have been tragedies. I'm not going to discuss any particular date or any particular woman. What I'd like to discuss is some of the things that I've noticed. Having been on dating apps, met my former wife on a dating app, then had the universe conk me on the head with the flat side of a shovel, that being sitting with ayahuasca, then evaluating that dating scene through these dating apps from a completely different perspective. There's so much to say, I don't want to limit it to one segment. I'm going to have a recurring segment, I'm not sure if it's going to be weekly, about things that I'm picking up on dating through these apps in the year 2022. The first thing that I want to comment on, and all of you know this, but it's particular to the things that you frequent on your phone. When you're on a dating app, these other apps are picking up on that and pushing content to you that would be specific to a single person, that would be specific to other similar services. It's frightening how these algorithms, how these cookies, how it's all known to the universe of YouTube, of Google, of Microsoft, of Amazon. I'm watching the YouTube, and the YouTube is pushing video content from this woman talking about the dating apps and how the genders evaluate potential matches on the dating apps. I'm not sure whether or not it was a quote-unquote whistleblower. I'm not sure that that term actually qualifies if it's somebody leaking information from Tinder or from Bumble. The video featured a woman who was talking about the data that was released, whether or not that was intentionally or unintentionally, and I believe it was either Tinder or Bumble. It was one of the major dating apps. And the data was specific to who swipes on who. Men will swipe on women 2 out of 3 times. So men are evaluating these female profiles and on average will swipe right, which is the nomenclature for these dating apps, on 2 out of every 3 female profiles. 2 out of 3 women they see as attractive they see as a potential match, a potential mate, they're going to swipe right. That's 66%. Now, let's take that into account when you're talking about data. That's the average. So you probably have a number of men who are swiping right on every single profile simply to see if they can't get a hit, simply to play the numbers game. I swipe right on all of these profiles. I'm going to get some that are actually going to match with me. And out of that limited number of matches, then I'll be able to coordinate, hopefully, a number of actual dates with women. Boiled down, man see woman, man swipe right, 2 out of every 3 women. Women, on the other hand, only swipe right 1 out of 20 times. 5%. So women, when they are actually on the app, they're looking at male profiles, they only find 1 out of 20 men attractive. 1 out of 20 men as a potential match, 1 out of 20 men as a potential mate. Again, to be very clear, you can go and find this on the Google. This is 5% on average. On average. That means that there's a number of women who, of course, are swiping right more often. But that means that there are a number of women who are swiping right less frequently than 1 out of 20. Let's qualify that data with the fact that many women will get onto these dating apps, and within a week, they'll have 100 different matches. They'll have 100 different guys that are actually matched with them. To the extent that they can keep up with it, they're not swiping anymore. They're just managing the matches. I don't know how the apps work for women. Most of the time, the man has to pay to see who has actually liked him or matched with him, connected, whatever the nomenclature is for the individual app. Not sure if women have to do that. But I do believe that it's important to qualify that women are getting a lot more attention. So there may be fewer women and there may be fewer swipes on that spectrum. Women don't have to swipe as much because men are doing all the work. They just simply have to choose which men they're going to connect with and then which men they're going to communicate with. I don't know if that condition is factored into the data, whether out of all of the men that have liked a woman, whether she's only liking or connecting with 5% of those. It may very well be the case. Regardless of whether or not there are any qualifiers, 66% for men and 5% for women, that's quite a disparity. A statistically significant disparity. Why have I led you down this path, dear listener? Why have I given you this extended recitation of data that you can go and find on the internet specific to how men and women interact with one another on these dating apps? It illuminates a phenomenon that's very popular in major metropolitan areas all over the country. If you haven't heard this term, you are an old, and you're even an old in the eyes of an old. I'm the last guy to know, and this term gets thrown around where I live all the time. Women are creating, they are building from scratch fuckboys. Women are the impetus, the architects, the catalyst, the prime mover for the fuckboy. The fuckboy would not exist but for the fact that the fuckboy is so popular with the women. Is this the condition for all women? Of course not. But, and I mean to use the word but intentionally, it is clearly a condition that is specific to so many women that the fuckboy can manifest and survive in this modern dating app environment. Ah, the great line from Field of Dreams. If you build it, he will come. And what has been built? The space, the void, the vacuum for the fuckboy. Ask the woman who's out and about, decked out. I mean, she looks gorgeous. The clothes, the hair, the shoes, the purse. She's fit. She presents as confident. Oh, does she express lamentation and teeth gnashing over the fuckboy? What does she define as a fuckboy? There's a style to that person, that man. It may be different in different regions of the country, but it's whatever the popular outfit is of the day in that region. He's got the jacket or the coat. He's got the shoes. He's got the pants. He is also very fit. He is also very active in the social scene. And what is he? He's a liar. He can't be trusted. He's a cheater. Dave Chappelle had a bit in one of his specials 15, 20 years ago, hell, maybe longer. But it was that men are only successful and strive for the material rewards of that success because they want to impress women. A man would live in a cardboard box and ride a bicycle if he could have sex with any woman that he wanted to, living in a cardboard box and riding a bicycle. I considered playing the entire clip and basically chopping up that bit, but I don't need to rip off any material from Dave Chappelle to make the point. I've stated it here before on this podcast, specific to the episode about the Tinder swindler, the documentary that I watched about the vegan sous chef that ended up getting taken by this guy that she met. Men will believe any lie a woman tells them. And again, no one's really lying to us. We want to believe that lie. Men will believe any lie a woman tells him if she's beautiful enough. Men are mesmerized, often paralyzed by beauty. Women, on the other hand, will believe any lie that's told to them when money's involved. When they think that the man has money, they'll believe any lie that that man tells them. Now, are they really being lied to? Is the man being lied to by the girl 20 years his junior cooing into his ear about how much she loves him when he gives her half of his net worth? No, he's lying to himself. Is the woman being lied to by the man who comes in all of the right clothes and he's in the right social spots? He's a social climber just like she is, and he promises to make her a kept woman and that she'll be his one and only? No. When you put material possessions before what is true love and a true connection with another human being, you're lying to yourself. So how do women build, create, manufacture fuckboys? Go out there and look on the Googles, on the internets. You will also find data specific to what women are seeking in a partner, and they've got a litany of things that they'll say. One of the characteristics that disqualifies all the others, and very quickly, is a man's height. Although most women will not list it as a qualification, as something that could eliminate a man from potential contention, from being considered a mate. Height matters. 6 feet or above. I do feel compelled here to state again, is it all women? Of course not. Is it a significant number of women in the population? Yes. And how do I know that? It's evidenced by the existence and by the persistence of the fuckboy. Now you can easily go, again, you've got the Googles, you've got the internets. Approximately 15% of the U.S. male population is 6 feet or taller. 15%. So if you look at the data that I already mentioned about when women will swipe right on a profile, when you're talking about height, that's 1 out of 7. So women have already gone down to 1 out of 7 profiles that they would swipe on based only on height. Then you factor in the economic, the financial. And it's not just the economic and financial, as I have discovered being on these social media apps. It's advertising. It's all about advertising. What do your photos convey that you put on your dating app profile? Do you have a car in one of the photos on your social media profile? Do you have a photo of you in your home? Do you have a photo of you in an exotic locale? Do you have a photo of you at some raging nightclub in some distant, some foreign city? Many men do not. I can tell you personally, I do not. And beyond that, the final thing, it's just plain looks. Are women attracted to the man? Is the man classically attractive or is he not? You add in the economics, the financial, and whether or not it's being properly advertised on the profile, you add in classical attractiveness, and you've got yourself 1 out of 20. 1 out of 20 men will fit into this category. Because women have such discriminating tastes, and I am not saying that sarcastically, I'm not saying it facetiously, women do have more discriminating tastes than men. But because they do, and I mean to use the word but intentionally, but because they do have more discriminating tastes, they are competing for fewer and fewer men. This is the foundation for building the fuckboy. It is simple economics. You have too few in the supply and you have such a high demand. So now this limited group of men have all of the options they could ever want. Now that we have the foundation laid, let's frame out this structure of fuckboy, shall we? It is not simply that a man is financially stable. It's not simply that a man is financially wealthy, that he has plenty of money. This man must flaunt that wealth. And there really is no other way to put it. If you have a picture of you in a luxury sports car, if you have a picture of you in an exotic locale, in some mansion, in some club, in some faraway city, this is a lifestyle advertisement and it easily qualifies as flaunting. That woman that has spent so much time on her diet and exercise, on her hair, on her clothes, on her makeup, her general style, her overall look. She's looking for a man that matches that vibration. This is no different than two peacocks strutting their feathers in a mating ceremony. And frankly, there's nothing wrong with it. This is not me condemning anyone who has the wealth and who is advertising it and who is also looking for a mate that is in that same frequency, that same vibration, that wants to celebrate it publicly. That's not where I'm going with this. There are men who very likely have the job, the career, they are wealthy because of family connections, because mommy and daddy or their grandparents. There are men who are legitimately that. But what women have done by being so attracted to that type of man is they've allowed the framing of the fuckboy. They've allowed someone to come in and to pose as the wealthy person, as the person who has the financial independence, the economic freedom. Just as I said that the man who is courting a woman 20 years his junior is going to believe anything that she says when he's demanding to know if she really loves him. A woman is going to believe that a man is truly in that independent economic situation, that the economic freedom is real because she wants to believe it, whether it's true or not. I live in an area of the world, Scottsdale, Arizona, where they actually have a term for this, the 30K milli. These are guys who can mimic, who can parrot the wealthy Scottsdale man. The man who is economically independent, financial freedom. He's got the clothes. He knows the spots to go to in town. Hell, he may have even rented the car. And in reality, this person is using credit cards, some sort of credit from another source, hell, borrowing, robbing, stealing to live the lifestyle until the money runs out. Hearing this, dear listener, you might be saying to yourself, I'm sure that guy falls on his face and does so quickly. No, dear listener. That guy does rather well in the Dale. That is a guy who routinely gets called out only months after the money has run out as a fuckboy. The women will lament, again, gnash teeth, that they were lied to, deceived, misled. And as I've stated, and I hope that you understand, dear listener, it's not true. We lie to ourselves. We want to believe the lie, so we will ignore all of the red flags. We have the framing now for the fuckboy. But what I want to do is take it to the next iteration, because there is another level of fuckboy staring us in the face, ready for us to explore. This is the fully built out house. This is the fully decorated house. This house is a mansion. This fuckboy is the 1% of the 1% man. This is the apex fuckboy. This fuckboy is over 6 feet tall. This fuckboy has the economic freedom, the financial security, hell, money to burn, and burn through it he does in public. And this fuckboy is classically attractive. This fuckboy turns the heads of many an attractive, well put together, in their own minds, cosmopolitan or elegant woman. Because this man has so many women vying for his attention, and so many of those women are buying into the fantasy of being a princess, not really trying to establish a relationship with this man, enjoying the opportunity to be spoiled. This man can spoil any of the women who are in this material mindset. This man can have sex with any of these women who are in this material mindset. These women, who they believe are victims of the fuckboy, will say, he lied to me, he cheated. Within but a short month, dear listener, I have been out on dates with women who fall into this material mindset. It's the damnedest thing, because seeing them in photographs, in person, you are attracted to what you perceive as an elegance. Well put together, many times well spoken, though in short order they give themselves away. Yes, these are but one date. They get a very quick sense of me that I'm not going to be the thing that they're looking for. What has struck me about these women is the extent to which they feel like they've been taken advantage of. And in listening to them, just keeping my stupid mouth shut and listening, it's apparent, and it's apparent quickly, the hallmark of the woman that creates the space for the fuckboy is the things that she laments the most in the fuckboy. Self-absorbed, narcissistic liar. To tie this all together, we all operate at a frequency, and that frequency draws in like, kind, and quality. This is something that I've been preaching on this podcast since last year, since I sat with ayahuasca, and the plain and simple truth is that we are responsible for everything in our lives. If a woman is constantly getting into relationships, is falling in love with a fuckboy, it is a commentary on the way that she sees the world, the things that she's prioritizing. The fuckboy can't exist without the space created by the woman that is drawing in the fuckboy.
Act 2. Texting fail, communication fail.
I am an iPhone customer. I've had one now. I don't know how long I've had an iPhone. I've had an iPhone long enough that I can't remember how long I've had an iPhone. From everything that I've read and everything that Apple has put out about its texting algorithm, the phone is supposed to get smarter. The phone is supposed to remember words that you text more frequently, and once you start to text those words, it will auto-populate that word for you if you so choose to have that feature on. In addition, the text feature is supposed to take the amalgam of words that are being texted, and it will get smarter, so to speak, by taking the amalgam of all the words that are texted by all of the users and begin to incorporate those into the algorithm so that it knows how to fill in words, complete sentences, anticipate what you are going to text before you even type it out. What do you think about the text feature on the iPhone platform as it has developed over the course of the last 3 to 5 years, dear listener. Complete and total dog shit. Siri has gone downhill. The text feature has gone downhill. I routinely lament that I cannot type out any word with more than 3 syllables and have it actually auto-populate properly, have it actually spell out properly. The keyboard, once an intuitive piece of software, seems to be one of the most clumsy, antiquated devices that I've ever used in my entire life. It went from a supercomputer when it came to math to an abacus. I spend more time correcting all of the misspellings, all of the poor autocorrections than I do actually thinking about what I'm going to text. And the reason why I'm expressing this rant on my podcast is that it dawned on me, wait a minute, it's just a machine. It's simply a machine following the programming via an algorithm. And what is that algorithm trying to do? What's the goal? It's to take all of the texts that are sent by all of the users on the Apple platform and to begin to anticipate what are people going to say, what are people going to text, so that there's an efficiency there, so that there's an intuitiveness there. It's trying to tap in to our collective consciousness. Although this algorithm is anticipating the words that you as an individual type, it's also incorporating all of the words that have been typed so that it can have a collective body of communication at its and your disposal. So by way of its dumbing down over the course of the last 3 to 5 years, it's your fault, dear listener. It's your fault. You are a stupid motherfucker. I don't WYD. I don't SMH. I don't IKR. I very likely emoji too often. I'm too clumsy to use that GIF app to put up any type of meme material. Shit, say that 10 times fast. Meme material. I routinely write out words that can be found in Webster's dictionary that are part of the English language, and I try to communicate using those complete words in complete sentences. Does this make me an old? Clearly it does. Old man is kicking rocks and doing so right now. You want to see me yell at a cloud? How about this? Type out a word with more than 3 syllables in your text, you simple fucks. Can you think of a 3-syllable word off the top of your head? And don't tell me IDK. It's very likely that the dumbing down of this technology is not because the algorithm has gotten worse. It's not because Steve Jobs is dead and he is no longer the gravitas, the prime mover of this technology. I'm sure they have just as smart of people working on these algorithms now as they did then when he was alive. It's you, dear user. You've let the technology make you lazy and simple. Your communication skills have diminished, if not dwindled to nothing. You may sit there rightfully, dear listener, and say, you are certainly in your ego. You judgmental prick. And this is something I've been wrestling with. Does the ego, in its judgment, ever serve the higher good? Watching all of you clump down with your thumbs on the keyboard of your phone, typing out 3 to 4 letter abbreviations as a substitution for thoughtful, thorough communication? Have at them, ego. Tear them a new asshole.
Act 3. Drugs and Sports.
The suspension of Fernando Tatis Jr. from the San Diego Padres for performance-enhancing drugs gives me the platform to go on a tangent, not a tirade, but a tangent about one of the biggest paradoxes in sports, and that is the use of drugs. Harken back to the beginning of this very podcast, the first few episodes. I actually spoke about the question that I had in my own mind about my sports fandom given this paradox. There's a certain number of drugs that every league will allow players to take in order to get out on the field and to dull or kill pain. Yet any drug that they take that would help them in the healing process, that would allow for them to recuperate more quickly, you can't take those. You see, they enhance performance. They give the athlete an unfair advantage. It's implicit in the way these rules are written that, look, everybody's going to get hurt. Everybody will suffer through the same types of injuries. It's not so much how you come back from that injury. It's not how you rehabilitate. It's whether or not you're a man. It's whether or not you'll play through pain. You'll persevere and suffer for the benefit of the team. That 1950s mentality may have worked back in the day. I believe that one of the reasons why you have fewer and fewer young fans gravitating to these professional sports leagues is because there are a number of things that are holdovers from another era that these younger people pick up on. Now, they may not understand it fully. They may only understand it on a subconscious level, but they know that this paradox is bullshit. Even out in the marketplace in business, with the consultancy class coming into a number of different industries starting in the 1980s and helping them become more efficient and profitable and turning basically all employees into cogs, we recognize that these athletes, as they pertain to these sports teams, as they pertain to the leagues, are just cogs in a machine. Preventing athletes from taking drugs that can help them in their recuperation and help them stay healthy while they're playing, and instead just giving them drugs to dull the pain, it's laughable on its face and it's nonsensical. And this whole argument that these performance-enhancing drugs are like the steroids that athletes were taking in the 80s and the 90s. To compare the drugs today to the steroids that were being used in the 80s and the 90s is like saying that cell phone technology is similar to what it was in the 80s and the 90s. The cell phones in the 80s and the 90s look like the batteries that power Tesla cars today. Times change, technology changes, the level of sophistication ratchets up. To be sure, part of the performance-enhancing drug protocol is growth hormone, is actually growing your muscles beyond their current capacity, building that strength. And for the Puritans, that's the poster child. That's what they want you as a consumer to believe all performance-enhancing drugs do. The fact of the matter is, many performance-enhancing drugs don't actually grow your muscles. They're not to build strength beyond what any human being could possibly do. It's all about recuperation. It's assisting the body to recuperate more quickly. And of course, that is particularly important when you're playing in a sport where you're constantly subjecting your body to physical harm. 20 years ago, I couldn't imagine myself saying it. When I did the episode on the migrant train and the fact that many of the people who are trying to get into this country are doing so because of the draconian drug policies that we have. I don't think it's different in major sports. Football, basketball, baseball, soccer, hockey. Any drug that can be prescribed to help an athlete in recuperation should be prescribed prior to the drug that just dulls the pain for the injury. And if that drug also has the benefit of being bigger, stronger, faster, so be it. Let them all take it. Let every athlete take the drug that helps them recuperate from injury more quickly. And if the ancillary effect is they're also bigger, stronger, and faster, what difference does it make? There is a level playing field when drugs are involved if the access to the drug is the same. And you want to know how I know that? Because it exists within these leagues already. Every one of the teams has a doctor in every league that will prescribe these athletes painkillers. You don't want to help them prevent and recuperate from injuries. You just want them to have dulled pain from the injuries. That pearl-clutching 1950s mentality is on its way out, or you're going to lose generations of young fans ever being attracted into different sports or sport in general. This is Why Don't Vote, a podcast.